Already counting out to the Geekcast. It's Retro Ray here again. We're here with a special guest today. If you like Transformers and you saw Transformers 1, you're going to love our guest. He's done voiceover work from Star Wars to video games. So one of the ones I love that he's done, he did the Bumblebee movie as well. That one, loved it, hands down. But John Bailey, epic voice guy, Ryan Reynolds voice. I mean, he does his. We could be here for hours, but he's taken time out of his busy day to come on and talk to us about Transformers 1. And let's not wait no longer. Let's get him into the room. This is going to be fun. John.
Greetings, flesh creature. Megatron, ruler of the Decepticons.
Nice. So, guys, if you don't know him, he's done so much cool stuff. He has so many impersonations. Our reason we got him on was because of Transformers 1. I know now we talked before, the movie had dropped and we couldn't really say much about it, but now that it's dropped, I'm a hardcore Transformers fan, and I was worried a little bit because I was kind of thought it was gonna be more kid oriented, but the story was beautiful. The cinematography, everything was just perfect, spot on. I mean, how was it getting this job?
Try to tell you, but before I get started on Transformers 1, today is extremely special for two reasons. One of them being
Okay.
Transformers 1. Transformers 1 releases today in the UK, Germany, France, and China.
Oh, nice.
So it's now officially out internationally throughout the world. It is fully released finally, but it's also the release date of Transformers Galactic Trials, now available on consoles, in which I voice the mighty Megatron, as well as Shockwave and Soundwave, and you can get it right now.
Wow, that is freaking awesome. I didn't know it was releasing today.
Yeah, it's out today.
So have you had a chance to play it yet?
I played just enough to get some clips. But I have to get time to get good at it, but I'm just so freaking busy. I got so much going on.
That's a good thing.
I'm in the middle of doing a completely different project, uploading over 60 files for stuff. It's crazy busy, and I have an event to go to tonight, and then I've got somewhere in the middle of all this, I've got to get content, as you can hear going on in the background, and done for more Transformers stuff. So and Transformers 1, I can honestly say it was a labor of love from everybody that I worked with, including the director, Josh Cooley, because they cared. You could tell they genuinely cared about the brand and about the story and about it being just a great, not just something that's Transformers, just something that showed that they cared about Transformers, but a great freaking movie. And it's just a great movie. I don't know how else to put it. I don't have a lot of words to describe it. A lot of people kept just using the illustration, and it made me feel like a kid again. But I don't really feel like you have to be an adult to feel like a kid again to watch this film, to need that kind of, it just, whatever feeling that you had when you saw your very first Pixar film, you'd never seen a Pixar movie before. I hadn't felt this way about a movie until I saw the very first Toy Story movie. And I was like, this feels different. This has a magical, holy scrap, to do a Transformers pun, feel to it. This feels next level. This feels, a lot of kids use the term peak, but it felt like there was something special about it. It really does feel like a special film. It feels like he took the soul out of the Pixar movie from the great era of the Toy Stories and the Bugs Life and the Monsters Incorporated, and he took the soul and he turned it into the spark of a Transformers film. Yeah. And I feel like it did not get a good rep because of a promotional trailer that most likely had nothing to do with production or the film itself. It was just the way it was edited made people go, what? And people just didn't kind of give it a chance. And maybe just because of, historically speaking, maybe they just kind of have had mediocre films about it because of all the kind of films that they'd had before, and it being kind of the same type of film as it was before, or they made it no matter what it was, they made an assumption about the movie without just giving it a fair shake and
Yeah.
watching. And I feel like every single person, I don't feel like, I know every single person that had went out, even especially including the people who were like, I wasn't really going to watch it. I don't even like Transformers. My mom's never, my brother so and so and so and so, my friend never even liked Transformers, never heard of it, whatever. And they all either enjoyed up to freaking loved this movie. Every one of them has the same, even though the most difficult critics on some of the Transformers message boards still are like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. These are the guys that are just nitty gritty picky about movies, especially Transformers stuff. They rate stuff ridiculously low. They hate it. Pretty much everything I work on. No, I'm kidding. But it's like even they said this movie's really freaking good. It's just a great freaking movie, and I really hope that you don't live a life of regret, wishing that you had you known how awesome Star Wars: A New Hope was going to be, you would have gone and waited in that line to go see it for the first time. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah.
is, you should go and take people with you. It's an experience. It's something you can experience together with, I would say, anybody over the age of 10, unless you have a very, very strict standards about language. There's a few mid bad words in it, but so did the original 86 cartoon movie. And
Yeah.
for anybody that tries to say that 86 cartoon movie was the best, no. I can go down a list of lawyer you so hard. The Transformers 86 movie was classic. It's nostalgic. It has a lot of beautiful animation in it. It's got a lot of just really great music from the time. But it was really a way to sell new toys and to sell a new album. If you pay attention, they're playing you a soundtrack. They're trying to sell the song, the music, and the music overpowers a lot of some of the stuff that you're trying to pay attention to the film. So even from a logical standpoint, it's like I would love to have heard more from the robots instead of there to have been 5 or 6 montages. And there could have been, there was a lot of stuff that was underused. There was things that they could have done but didn't. I've always said, even when I was a little kid, I was like, you took the Ultra Magnus toy. It is literally a repainted Optimus Prime cab with a trailer. Why not, instead of having a brand new character, have them save him by repainting him or whatever, and he turns white, and now he has the Magnus armor, and now he's Ultra Magnus, yay! And then nobody has to go home traumatized because their favorite hero. Anyways, I reminisce, but I'm bluntly honest, as you can tell, I'm not worried about how somebody's going to be like, oh, he's not going to get hired back because he's not being 100% positive about Transformers. There's things I love about everything Transformers. There's things I don't like too, but I am the kind of guy who always focuses on the positive. If it's good for the brand, if it helps the brand continue, I will still try to find things in it that I like, even if it was even Rescue Bots when my kids are a little too old for Rescue Bots. You know what I mean? Like I was like, you know what, this show's actually not bad for some shows made for little kids. Your parents have to suffer through, and some you can enjoy it with your kids. And it was one of those you can enjoy it with your kids. It was some good stories, with good acting, and it's just one of those films that you can just really enjoy no matter what. But it's made for, especially for IMAX and IMAX and the real D3D. It looks fantastic. And if you
Yeah,
go,
you have to watch it in theaters.
in my personal opinion, if you see it in 40X, it is a completely different experience than watching it in any other format. And if you have no ability to go to the Transformers Universal Studios rides, this may be your only chance before it, because 40X, it won't stay in theaters very long before the next big thing that shakes things around will be the movie that gets played. And they only play one of those a day. So please go do yourself a favor for very little money. Go on a low budget day or whatever. Save your $20 whole and go see it in 40X. Don't take an open container of liquid or popcorn. You will regret it. The guy's next to us, first time to 40X theater. Okay, have fun. Get 2 open containers of liquid and popcorn. Lasted like 5 minutes. It was gone.
Wow.
As soon as Orion Pax is trying to truck away, it's just. But man, it was fun, man. People applauded and laughed their
Yeah.
tailpipes off at the scene with the train going to the surface, in a completely different section than anybody else and I watched it with fans. I watched it with just moviegoers, and the reactions were always the same at the same point. I was always just expect like, wait for it. Oh, there's that reaction. This movie in 40X, completely different reactions in completely different places. Just saying,
Wow.
do yourselves favors. the movie theater is definitely a place, and I can't wait to see what kind of bonus stuff that they put when it comes to the physical disc and the digital releases. But also, don't forget, I'm also Megatron, Shockwave, and Soundwave in Transformers Galactic Trials out now. I got a downloadable version on Switch. I bought a physical copy so I could send this to my kid.
Nice.
And I also plan on getting it for my Xbox and my PlayStation. I was only today years old when I found out it was actually on PlayStation 4 as well. I thought it was only a PS5, but apparently it's also PS4 and PS5. So
Nice.
I mean, I've always loved Mario Kart, and I've always said, man, this would make a fantastic Transformers game. They fracking did it finally. It's this. This is it.
So when we were
destroy your children at. It'll be awesome.
When we were growing up, we didn't have that, right? We didn't have these.
I know. This is what we wanted when we were kids. I would love to have gone after school and say, dude, come over to my house and just trashed each other in Transformers Kartformers, whatever you want to call it.
That would have been awesome.
Mario Kart Formers Prime.
When did you first fall in love with Transformers?
The first day I saw them on shelves. I was in a Target, and my mom took me to the toy aisle. Yeah, they only had one aisle when we were kids. And there was a girl side and there was a boy side. And that was it. There was no in between. It was super, super pink on one side and super, super everything else on the other side. And there was Transformers and there was G.I. Joe right next to each other. And my mom's like, you can pick one, but that is what we're going to get. We're not going to do anything else. That's going to be the thing that you do from now on. I'm not going to know. And my little logical spectrum brain, my parents had me undiagnosed. And I'm looking at it like, okay, well, this one's a puzzle of a vehicle, a robot. All in one. That's three things in one freaking toy, and the artwork was fantastic. And it's robots are cool. And then G.I. Joe had all these little tiny parts, and they had, they didn't do anything other than just pose, and there was a lot more of them. They were a little bit cheaper, but in order to have any fun with it, you had to get the vehicles, which were really seemed pretty pricey. And I figured she wasn't going to be spending a lot of money on these little dudes. So I went with Transformers, and she bought me Bumblebee, my very first Transformers toy. To this day, I regret not ever getting a G1 Shockwave while they were still on the shelves. My brother convinced me that the G1 Shockwave out of the box was a G1 Shockwave. If you are an old school Transformers fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's from Radio Shack, which is ironically worth more now, but mine was loose. It was at a service merchandise wholesale store. So he's like, oh, they look different out of the package. It was a completely different toy, dude. It was the Japanese version, basically. It was the Takara version from the Microman line. Yeah, I know my stuff.
You see, and that's why it was working so hard to get you on, is because I know the love for Transformers you had. I had it. I have it. And one of the things that I kind of looked at was, as us growing up as kids, you mentioned, in other interviews that you've done, one of the jobs you did a voiceover. You're trying to get a job, and it was for basically Transformers, and then you got hired for Star Wars instead of Transformers.
Yeah, fun times. You know how you have these dream jobs, like your favorite thing to do in the world, but then there's another job that's even cooler that you love even more, and then they tell you that you got the one you love even more, but then they go back and tell you that you got the one you really love. I was somehow they took what would have been a joyous occasion for me, because I got to freaking work on Star Wars, and made it like, oh man, because it was like, hey, you booked that Transformers job you auditioned for. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, it was Star Wars. Talk about getting good news to replace great news, and it was like, oh,
when did you find out?
To be fair, it wasn't a great spot. It was the Revenge of the Fallen. I want to say Hot Wheels, but it was whatever the little Matchbox size Hot Wheels size.
Oh, okay.
It was the Revenge of the Fallen set with the the whole little track thing. And so it wasn't. It was the Devastator one, and not a lot of people like the Devastator from the Revenge of the Fallen. So it was Transformers. I was like, I get to audition for Transformers. That's cool. And I had also auditioned for the Captain Rex helmet. And
Nice.
I didn't know it was a helmet. I just knew it was for Captain Rex's voice. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about Hasbro and learned how things worked, because when I started the same as everybody else. Started off non-union, and I found out that the toys and the non-AAA games, if you don't know what AAA game is, it's worth the Google. And movies and TV shows, like they get non-union actors to do the toy voices and the commercial voices, because you'll see a commercial. This is something you should pay attention to. You'll see a commercial for a toy, and even if they use clips from the cartoon or the movie, there's different voices in it, because they would have to
Oh,
pay
dang.
those SAG rates for those actors. And I was like, wait, why do they show that clip of Transformers Prime, but the voices are completely different than the cartoon? Why not just use the thing? And then I found out when they do have a clip of a show and they put it in a toy, that actor probably did not get paid. My buddy Alexander Polinsky was the voice of Head Masterson from Transformers Animated,
Oh,
and they
dang.
used his voice when you add the head onto the bulkhead toy. Head Masterson's voice comes through, and they did not pay him for that. They just pulled it straight from the show, and I was like, oh, so that's why they have sound
Wow.
alikes re-record that, because they have to pay their actors from the show if they use the original audio, or just hire those actors to come in and do it. And obviously, they're going to do it for different rates because they're big famous actors, whatever. So there
Yeah.
was a guy that I met, Rick Sellers, who worked and basically did all the Transformers voices for the American greeting cards, and he did. So he's like, I forget what Optimus Prime he falls in the list of primes, but there are now 14. There were 13 primes until I forget what his name was, but Bill Rogers, who voices Optimus in this one. I don't mind not voicing Optimus Prime in this one because I'm voiced Megatron, so I can literally destroy whoever voices Optimus Prime and not feel bad about it. To be fair, I didn't get to audition for Optimus Prime, but I saw that he worked for Transformers Earthspark, the game, and then he worked on the Transformers Netflix show. So I was like, oh, so he basically already had an in for this game, most likely. I'm just theorizing here. But I was really happy because I auditioned for, I want to say 5 characters for this, and I booked 3, and not just 3, but 3 of my freaking faves. No offense. I did want to get
Nice.
Wheeljack. Wheeljack's always been on my list, and Wheeljack's in this game, but I didn't get him. But I'm gonna. I already know I'm gonna get it because it's just on my list.
Your
I
bucket
I
list.
made my latest invention. It's called the Voicinator 3000. It's gonna make sure that I book every voice that I ever do, and there's no way it's gonna explode this time. Um, but yeah, for Transformers One, it was just kind of like early on they were like, "Hey, would you like to do this thing?" And you'll literally just kind of do the temporary scratch voiceover for the beginning intro and the outro at the end, and we'll find some background work to do in between here and there. This is kind of whatever we need, we can find you to do. We'd love to have you be part of it. And then it moved very quickly from that to you're going to be Chris Hemsworth's official sound alike for the movie. So I did all of Orion Pax's and all of Optimus Prime's, like what we call ADR, which is the same thing I did for Bumblebee movie as well for Optimus Prime. It's just basically laying the groundwork for the production, which is
Yeah.
awesome because you never know where it might show up. I got very, very blessed in that I got somehow accidentally through. I'm just going to give God the praise for this one because, like, straight up, there's the odds of this actually happening in real life. Never tell me the odds. We managed to get through a free preview email, a random email was like free preview, and it's one of those things where here in LA and other major cities, they're like, you'll see a movie way, way, way before it comes out. It's a completely pre-production, unfinished version. There'll be a lot of temporary voices. There'll be a lot of temporary animation or just animatics or just whatever. This is just not done yet. But they want to get a vibe from audience to stick around for a free film that's not done. You get a free popcorn and a drink, and you get to fill out a little survey, blah, blah, blah. And we had no idea what movie was going to be. It was just like looking for parents, kids this age. I had 2 kids that age. I'm like, yeah, sure. So do you like these kind of movies? I'm like, Marvel, DC. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, cool. Get in there, and it's like, you're the very first people to see Bumblebee movie in the United States. The very first. I'm like, all of
Oh,
my
wow.
temporary voiceover stuff was still in there. There was characters that got to speak that didn't end up in the final film. So I had done all this before, but because of some I don't have to explain the weirdness with like a trailer being misleading or whatever, but Transformers 1 had, you know what I mean? So it was like that happened. There was a teaser's TV spot for Bumblebee movie, and some of my scratch temporary stuff got used in that. And then people made the assumption that, oh, they hired John Bailey to be Optimus Prime. They did the original Optimus Prime voice actor dirty. That was never the case. Optimus Prime was always going to be the Optimus Prime and the original voice. It was always from the very beginning. I made sure I was like, I don't even want you submitting me for the tip stuff if he wants to do it or can't do it. But I don't do that kind of work unless the original actors are unable, unwilling, or unavailable. That's my 3 U rules. Like it's got to be one of those. If it's any of those reasons, fine. They can't do it. They either it's whatever reason. But I put the ball in their court. If they want to and they can and they will, knock yourselves out. I ain't taking your job. So I was just always doing the temporary stuff. So we never know when we come into these jobs for films. And I've done a lot of this stuff. I've worked on a lot of movies and people just don't know. I like to say I'm the voice that everybody's heard, but nobody's heard of because I'm there in the backgrounds. I'm in the commercials. I'm in the whatever. You just didn't know. I'm in the video games. You just didn't see me or hear me because you just didn't know I'm that good that I'm just freaking ninja. It's like everything. So I never know if something's going to end up in the final film or not or whatever. Sometimes randomly, like with Detective Pikachu, there's one spot where they thought my version was funnier than Ryan Reynolds, so they left it in. So when he's in the cage match, it's like Pika Pika. They thought mine was funnier than Ryan, and they left it in there. And then there ended up being like this meme, this GIF that on socials where it was like Pika Pika and Ryan Reynolds' voice. I'm like, ha, that's me. So there's little bit if you're very, very, very careful and you're good at Easter egg hunting, go back and watch Transformers 1 and listen closely because there's little bits and pieces of me still in there, and it's not Chris Hemsworth. I'm just that freaking good. Let's see AI do that. Because
nice.
They can't perform like I do. Humans rock. But I did like so many of the other. At one point I was both of the security bots. I was the race car and the race announcer. I was
wow
high guard, the background cogless, the miners. I was just a little bit of every whatever. I was even Alpha Trion at one point. I filled in for Steve Buscemi, which ended up in the film festival version, from what I heard. And people were like, "Oh, Tom Kenny's back." It was like, no, that was me filling in for Steve Buscemi. So, like,
wow.
you never really know. So I can technically say, well, I did book Starscream for Transformers 1. I got paid to fill in for him. So it's still like, that's on my resume as far as I'm concerned. Whether it goes out public and ends up being the final version, I don't really care. I'm just trying to rack up that record so I can be like, most Transformers voices booked. That's what I'm going for, is a Guinness World Record for most Transformers roles booked. So when I found out that I was going to be the voice of Soundwave in the final version of the film, I just absolutely thrilled, because he and Shockwave are like my two faves, and I'd gotten to do both of them for the Bumblebee movie and then come back as Soundwave in this one, and also all the other cool stuff where there's little bits of me in the performance and helping Orion Pax and Chris Hemsworth basically create that version of Orion Pax and Optimus Prime. I helped that with that. I was part of that process. And to be some of the high guard background voices with the D60. If you listen close, I put in some G1 voices in there. There's an old school, and God rest his soul, but the original voice of Thundercracker and a few others, they're in there. They're hidden in there. Me doing the background with the D16. Rise up, rise up. So there's lots of little cool Easter eggs that I tried to hide in there. There's even a Ryan Reynolds in there, some in the cog somewhere, going, Ryan Pax. So yeah, I just freaked out Transformers. And when Josh had a question about Transformers, I was like, I'm a human Transformers wiki, yo. I got you. And anything you need to know. He was always so happy because he's like, dude, you came in cool Transformers like gear and swag like every single day. I was like, dude, I really enjoy this brand. This brand has helped formulate and helped me through a lot of just life in general, because it really is, you do have to adapt, you do have to transform from one version of yourself to another in order to be the best version you can be, which is kind of what this whole movie is all about. It's about how you get from one point and transform into something else at the other point, and your decisions help transform your life along the way. And it really does have a lot of heart and a lot of like grown adult themes too. It's not just a little kid's movie. It's like, man, it's about unionized workers, and it's about not trusting your government to tell you the truth, and it's about thinking for yourself and thinking outside the box and standing up for what's right and what's wrong, and the authoritarians versus the democracy. So there's a lot of themes there, and not just there. What's funny is everybody's like, we were afraid it's going to be a little lore heavy. Dude, it was perfectly perfect. The way they did it was very, if you pay attention and you're not just a viewer, you're not just an audience member, but you watch how it's done and what they're doing with it. They use the opening scene to not only tell the background of the story, but to also establish like, okay, so Orion Pax is looking for information. It's everything is saying something else. It's Orion Pax is digging information. This alludes to the fact that he worked in the archives as a librarian in the old carton and the old whatever. So it wasn't so lore heavy that it was more like guys like us were like, I understood that reference. I know what they're doing right there. And then it's something you can talk to your kids about, because it's just paced just well enough where kids can keep their TikTok. Everything is clipped down to TikTok size scenes to keep the action moving. And it's really well done. And I have to say, because I was doing his ADR for him, I really wanted to work on that Chris Hemsworth American accent. I got to say, he did pretty dang. I've heard his old work, and his old work is not as great. He's improved a lot. So I want to just congratulate your dialect coach, Chris Hemsworth. you did great.
Man,
that Dwayne Johnson wide mouth American accent going. But a fun story though. So I was we were getting to that point where he's changing from Orion Pax to Optimus Prime. And he was like, Chris is going to do this more, more gravitas, more. He's a hero now. He's bigger. He's also physically bigger. If you notice, like gradually they changed size as well, mass shifting. So I did something just as fun. I was there being paid to do Chris's voice and fill in for him to kind of lay the groundwork for him to record or for them to figure out whatever they wanted the dialogue to be, whatever the case may be. There's lots of different reasons why they have us do what we do. And so just for fun, because we had a lot of fun making this movie, and I move at such a quick pace, you can kind of tell the way I talk. I get the job done, and I get them rolling. I get them early lunches, and then I come back. Then they just have me come back, and then I don't even have to audition in the future because they know, oh man, John's working. We're gonna get done early today. John's gonna do awesome. So I, as fun on when he actually gets to that point where we come together as one. I did something. I don't know many voice actors that could do this. But I'll do it for you right now. It's like, we stand here together as one. And I morphed Chris Hemsworth's voice into Peter Cullen's Optimus Prime voice. And Josh Cooley's mouth was like, did you just do what I think you did? I said, do you mean, did I combine Chris Hemsworth and Peter Cullen into one voice? Yes, I did. Let's see somebody else do that.
Wow.
My hope is, I'm gonna put this out there because we got all these actors clickbaiting like Dave Bautista. I want to be in a rom-com. I want to be in a Transformers animated show for this movie, Transformers 1 animated series. I volunteer as tribute to be Orion Pax, Optimus Prime, whoever. But I would just love to be in the show somewhere because I love Transformers. Even if you just give me the Wrecking Crew bots, I'm happy to freaking roll. Let's go.
Wow.
Let's roll out, as he would say. It's so funny because everybody hears something different when they hear Optimus Prime. You have this like 50% of folks that they think that this voice right here is Optimus Prime, and then you have 50% of folks that think this voice right here is Optimus Prime. It's like y'all gotta have to find some common grounds. Y'all are splitting 50-50 like it's freaking election year. They're killing me with this. I can do both. What do y'all want? I'll just do either one. I can do either one. Just let's freaking go, man. Scoot over, Alan Tudyk. Wow. I got this.
So what were your thoughts as a Transformer fan? So of course we never really got that backstory of Megatron. They always mentioned they were friends, but I loved how they incorporated that and gave more explanation in this movie of how they were friends and how they lost themselves, like where the friendship broke off. And
yeah, it's really cool to see their beginnings and how they were just like buddies. Because I love their caption for the advertising, the bros to foes.
Yeah, they did a great job, especially at the
end. I think
it
would have been. I don't know why they did. Maybe they couldn't get away with it. But bros before foes would have been much better. I'm just gonna put that out there. Maybe it was too much.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Maybe just a little. But with that, okay, we're talking about Transformers 1, but
I want to ask. I gotta go soon.
Yeah. Okay. One more question I want to ask: Bumblebee, when you got that role in that movie, in the opening scene alone, if they gave us a live action movie like that, I would be, you know what I mean?
I there's so many things I could say. I will say what I will say was when Josh Cooley and his team or whoever it was that first approached me for Transformers 1, they had said, we're making another movie. And I said, well, what's it going to be like? And I was assuming, like the previous films. And they said, well, the opening scene of Bumblebee movie. And I'm like, of course, I freaking worked on it. And it's the greatest thing ever. He's like, well, it's going to be like that, but for the entire film. So my brain thought that was what we were getting, was that scene, but for a whole movie. But what they meant was, after I saw the film, I got it. They meant how we all felt when we saw that scene in Bumblebee movie. I felt that way all the way through Transformers 1. They were just talking about like the way that freaking scene made you feel like a kid again. It made you just like, holy cow, this is what I've always wanted to see. Transformers 1 is that. It's that. And I'm grateful that they didn't do fully what they did in Bumblebee movie, because I feel like that would have alienated so many of the younger audience members that could have just loved it as well. It's not one of these things that's made for them. It's made for all of us. It's made for anybody who just likes cool stuff. It's made for people who love movies. Anyway. I don't want to rush it, but yeah. Next.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, that's the one of the questions I wanted to ask, just about Bumblebee.
Right, cool.
And it was basically, it was a great movie overall, and
so good.
To me, out of all of the ones that Michael Bay did and everything, to me, I really fell in love with that movie, and more so because we saw a little bit more different than what we saw in the first couple movies,
Yeah.
and the acting
It
and
had
everything that went
freaking
on.
heart. It had character development, and it had a great story. Dude, we
Yes,
know that Optimus Prime lives and becomes Optimus Prime, and yet the feels they made us feel anyway, somehow. It was well done. Well done.
yes, definitely was. Well, I don't want to take any more time. You know, I know you're busy. Maybe we can get you back on.
I really am. That's legit.
Yes. Maybe next time we can get you back. We talk a little bit longer, but thank you for taking the time. Love talking Transformers with you. Hey, Countdown to the Geekcast. Where can they find you if they want to just
All right, so
follow you?
some real quick shout outs. Number one, Transformers Galactic Trials. There we go. You can get this available now. You can download it, or you can buy physical copies on all consoles. I voice Megatron, Shockwave, and Soundwave. Two of my favorite characters, and let's be honest, Megatron is freaking fun to me, and I'm really excellent at being evil. And big shout out to Robosen, who gave me a Megatron and a Optimus Prime to check out. Be doing videos of that soon now that I got my Megatron announcement going. And Blockies has sent me amazing stuff. They have these really cool Transformers. One of the few. We've got some cool Transformers 1 figures out now. You can get now. As well as all the Transformers stuff that Hasbro just sent me a freaking huge loot crate full of stuff. Be posting a video of that. And then this new one is called Culture Fly. Check out at Shop Culture Fly. They have these new things from called Melts with a Z at the end. And can you pass me one real quick, Hunter?
Oh
So
yeah, I saw you open
these
them.
are really fun. So yeah, I just posted that video today. But yeah, look how adorable these little guys are. They got the little bites on them. You can sit them on your desk
Wow.
or just whatever. But they got these Comic-Con exclusive coming up to New York Comic-Con. Go check out. They got
Oh,
Soundwave. Somebody give me a Soundwave so I can get a better. I want to see a picture of it in person. And then let me think. Is there anybody else that I gotta pimp out? Yola Park. They've got some really cool Transformers 1 figures of the main four that are that's probably the best things that are out now besides what you see on the regular retail shelves for the Transformers toys. And keep on the lookout for more cool stuff. Transformers 1's in theaters now. We got it coming out on digital and physical disc, usually a month or two after it comes out, because that's always what it is. So I'm just going to keep on posting Transformers content for the foreseeable future. But yeah, so at Epic Voice Guy on pretty much everything there is.
sweet. Well, appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Epic on retreat!